channel. We are the Franklins, and we are happy to report some exciting news with you. If you have watched our last video a few months ago, it's when I first quit my job and was going to stay home with our baby while we hopefully would be itinerating to become missionary associates. And I'm happy to report that we have been approved, and we are now approved missionary associates with the Assemblies of God to El Salvador. We are so excited to partner with the ministry King's Castle under the leadership of Steve and Kim Sobey, and also the triplets. We are super, super ecstatic to work with them and learn from them.
So a little story of how we ended up, I would say choosing, but being called to go to El Salvador. Is back in 2018, the Lord called me to spend a year on the mission field right out of high school. And Sarah was also going to spend a summer on the mission field out of high school as well.
Wasn't going to follow him.
And so the Lord called me to go to Nicaragua, and I was there for about 3 months, and some political unrest broke out. And so I was transferred over to El Salvador, and Sarah was also supposed to go to Nicaragua for her internship, and she was also transferred to El Salvador. That was Sarah's first time there. I had been there before on a short-term trip, but we ended up both falling in love with it, and God gave us a real big heart for not just Nicaragua and El Salvador, but Central America as a whole. God called us to El Salvador because it's a big training ground, and we know that this is what we want to do for the rest of our lives, is work with kids and teenagers and discipleship and evangelism, and whether that's with King's Castle or with something else that God has in mind, this is where we want to go. And so God's calling us here for a season of learning and growing, and we are so excited to help, and not just help, but we're so excited to do ministry. And so Sarah will tell you a little bit about what we're actually going to do there.
Yeah, I do want to note that King's Castle is really a big part of our DNA. It's where we actually met in 2015 in Nicaragua at King's Castle. And since then, the Lord has really just been designing a beautiful story with King's Castle. And like Nathan said, we don't know what God has for the future, but we do feel like King's Castle is going to be a big part of our lives, and it really already has been up until this point for the past 8 years. So we're just so thrilled that we get to partner with that ministry in particular. So our current job description as of now is discipleship development strategy, and then also social media. Nathan does social media for his job. He's really good at it, and so I imagine that he'll spearhead most of that. But I'm happy to learn with him. We are very excited to get to work with the discipleship part of the ministry. That's something that is really heavy in our hearts, and something that we really feel a pull to as far as, what we will do when we get there. Discipleship is a big part of the ministry. They never leave anybody without a local church. That's a big deal for them, and that's something that we have always admired and really loved about King's Castle, is that there's always a church there. They don't just tell people about Jesus and then hit the road and let them figure it out on their own. They provide them with resources and churches and pastors. And so we're really excited. We don't even know really what that's going to look like, but we just know that's our heart, and we're excited to kind of dig into that and see what all the opportunity is for us there in that area.
So it'll take a while to get there. We're not going to just pack up and leave tomorrow. So here's what the process looks like. We have a budget that will be given, and we'll have a certain amount of funds to raise, and you can actually, if the Lord lays it on your heart, you can actually already help, and you can give, and we'll talk about it at the end. But after our budget is raised, we'll connect with friends and family and churches and supporters, and we'll raise our budget together with you. We couldn't do it without you. And then once our budget is 100% raised, we will pack up everything. We'll quit our job, my job, and we'll say our goodbyes, and we'll be off to Costa Rica for 8 months to go to language school. We're super excited because it's just 8 months of intense learning Spanish, so that we're not going into El Salvador blind or having to learn while we're trying to do ministry, but we can actually go in fluently speaking Spanish and knowing the customs, knowing the culture.
And Judah too.
Yeah, and our son as well will learn Spanish. We'll have a little bilingual baby, and so we'll go in prepared, ready to hit the ground running. And then after 8 months in Costa Rica, we will start our term in El Salvador. And so total, it'll be about a 2-year term, maybe a little bit longer. We'll see where the Lord leads. But that's our current situation right now, and we're so excited to get started. We're already started. We're fundraising. We've got our prayer cards. We're ready to go.
Yeah. So we wanted to talk about, just in case you are unfamiliar with the AGWM or the Assemblies of God World Missions, maybe that's something that's completely foreign to you. We are going under an organization, and so we're not being independent missionaries. We are under the covering of an organization, which we're honestly really thankful for. We love AGWM, and we have felt really supported throughout this whole process, and it kind of makes things just a little easier and more organized for us as we go, to kind of have everything we need laid out for us, and then we just have to kind of tackle it step by step. So that's been a really wonderful experience for us so far. So how can you give? That's kind of been the question that we've actually been asked multiple times already, which is amazing. We are so grateful. I mean, we haven't even been able to give out our account number and all of that. We've just been trying to wrap our heads around everything, but we have already been asked, how do we give to what you're doing? And so we will actually, after we post this video, we will upload our prayer card. Like Nathan said, we made a prayer card recently, and we're really excited to share that with you. We have physical copies, but we can also just upload the digital form, and that way you can always have access to that. It has all the information kind of in a short cliff note, I guess you could say, of how you can give, where you can give.
And we'll put all that as well in the YouTube description.
Oh yeah, good idea. So we'll have that for you, and basically how it works is every missionary has an account number. So Nathan and I don't have separate account numbers. Since it's our family, we have one account number. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it will be in the description and on our prayer card. But you will follow the instructions to go to the link, our giving link, and then there's also other ways you can give by by cash or check, and not just going to the link, but also we have a specific link that leads you directly to our giving. Or you could go to the AGWM website, put in our account number. You can mail a check or cash or whatever with our account number, but all of that's explained. But we just kind of wanted to talk about that because you might not be familiar with the AG or how things like that work. And so if you have any questions ever, please feel free to reach out to us. On our prayer cards, we actually have our phone numbers, both mine and Nathan's. Judah does not have a phone number, so you cannot contact him. But feel free to contact us, text us, call us with any questions that you might have. And we are so happy to connect with you.
And basically what it means to go with an organization is that you can know that your investment is going to a good place. We'll have other ministers and missionaries over us, keeping us accountable and pouring into us and mentoring us as we learn and grow, and as we do our ministry. And we'll also be helping others. And it's we'll be on a team. Whatever you give will be you'll get a tax receipt for it, and you can put that on your tax return, which is a nice little bonus. We believe that God has called us to do things together as a church and a community, and so that's what we're doing, and we're really excited about it. So how to pray for us? Honestly, praying for us, we value way more than any gift you could give us. And right now, we just have a few pressing prayer requests that have been on our hearts and on our minds. And the first one is a housing situation. Our lease ends this month, and we don't quite know where we're going to go yet.
September 30th.
We're on a wait list for some apartments that we can afford at the moment, or the wait list is moving a little slower than we'd like. So just pray that opens up for us, so that the Lord provides an alternative. In our car situation, we have cars that are not currently serving our needs with our baby and for itineration. And so just pray that the Lord helps us to sell those and provide a great car for us, so that we can have a reliable car with good gas mileage while we itinerate, and that'll be safe for the baby.
And we just really are praying for a car that allows us to be able to travel. If we need to connect with somebody, or somebody wants to connect with us, we want to be able to connect with them. And we don't want to be held back from that because we don't have a way to get there. So that's a very important prayer request.
So one other thing we're praying for is for our budget. Within the next 2 weeks, we'll be given the budget we have to raise, and we have a cash budget which covers all of our moving expenses, travel, a car for when we get there, furniture, we're going to have a place to live, all that kind of stuff. And then we'll have our monthly budget, which is essentially our salary, And so we'll have to raise both of those fully 100% before we can leave. And our prayer is that we can do that in less than a year, because we're so ready to get to the field. And so once we get that budget, we just ask that you help us to pray that God will raise it supernaturally. We've heard so many stories. One that comes to mind of a missionary family who had been pastoring for a long time in the States, and then the day that they announced that they were moving to the mission field, they were fully funded in one day. And so we just believe and know that God can do big things. We've seen God do big things in our lives, and we're not scared of money. We're not scared of fundraising, and so we're ready to go for it.
Our goal is to hopefully be able to start language school next August, so August of 2024. We technically have 24 months to raise our budget, but we just really are believing for the Lord to do it quickly, and we would love to be able to leave at the end of next summer.
And then last but not least, pray for connections. We have so many great friends and family that love us and support us, but we need also to get to know more friends and family and pastors and leaders and people that have the ability to give. And so we've already got a few church services lined up, which we're super excited about, but pray for more. Pray for that. God provides all that we need in that area as well.
And if you are a pastor and you would like to connect with us, please connect with us.
Send us a text. We'd love to come out.
Yes. So just all we have left is just a really big thank you for all of you, those who are watching. Maybe you've never met us before. The odds that you've met us are really high, which is why you're watching. But we just want to say thank you, not even just for the support that we've had in this season, but also just throughout the years, the last 8 years of raising funds and going and raising funds and going. And we have never not been able to go because we didn't have the funds. And that is a big testament to the giving heart and a big testament to the Lord, but also for you who give and are just so gracious. And we are just really appreciative of that. And we love our community. So thank you so much for praying for us and supporting us and just following along our journey. You don't have to, but you choose to, and we are not blind to that. So we just really appreciate you, and we pray that the Lord blesses you richly for all of the support that you've given us. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time.